ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Walter Matthau.
The deeds of the leader shall live, and the hard-won glory of his exploits. This endures. This alone escapes the greedy destruction of death. This is certainly true of General George S. Patton. His electrifying dash through France and the invasion of Europe will live as long as courage is honored as a human virtue. Patton was a military hero in the classic tradition. He had all the fire, spirit, and daring of a medieval warrior on horseback. But more than that, he was a keen student of war and the psychology of war. His place is secure as one of the great generals of military history. Ronald Reagan will now narrate some of the thrilling moments from the life of General George S. Patton.
It's not easy to believe that George S. Patton, Jr. was once just Georgie. From his earliest years, this lad believed he was going to be General George S. Patton, Jr. His imagination was stirred by stories of great heroes of the past, told by his father. His military career began at VMI. At West Point, he proved himself a model cadet, although, like Washington and Napoleon, he could not spell. Rarely from this time on would Georgie flash this attractive smile. It just didn't go with his very serious ideas of soldiering. He established the first football team for soldiers, to keep them from wasting their off hours in drinking and gambling. World War I. Convinced that this ponderous vehicle would someday come into its own, he studied it, rode into battle on it, became a hero alongside it. Our first tank commander, he would always be linked with the weapon that symbolized his driving, overwhelming personality. After the war, the tank school at Fort Meade. Two officers here shared a deep military interest, Ike Eisenhower and Georgie. The fierce expression, his get-up at masquerades, reflected some deep instinct to play the role of warrior or fighter. His wife joined in, sensing that even in fun, these roles suited her soldier husband. The time came, as it had before, when the clothing of battle was to be worn by millions of Americans. November 1942, in command of American forces for the invasion of North Africa, Lieutenant General George S. Patton, Jr. One of the outstanding features of a brief campaign was Patton's bold leadership, and later, the favorable impression he created on French and Arabs alike. Long-range plans could now be discussed. Plans heights in serving his country.